Hiya, I'm just here briefly with some exciting news, or at least I'm excited. Because the news is that I've got contracts in place and signed for me to go and make two sets of films over in Europe. One in the south of France and one in northwestern Germany. So these are films documenting scientific regulatory field studies around agricultural pesticides and farmland mammals and birds. And these are the kind of studies that allow us to regulate pesticides in such a way, hopefully, that we can have safe and affordable food at the same time as having plenty of healthy wildlife in our farmland. And I think that the way we've regulated pesticides, at least in Europe over the last 20 years or so, is a big success story that isn't told often enough or loudly enough. And maybe that's something that I ought to do something to fix. But that's a job for another day. So this will be the first time that I've been able to travel to Europe and do this kind of thing since 2019 because, well, COVID. Of course, since 2019, Brexit has also happened, and this makes life somewhat more complicated for this kind of travel. One of the complications is that if Bailey's coming with me, and he is, then his pet passport is no longer valid. British issued pet passports aren't any use anymore in Europe. Instead, he has to have something called an animal health certificate, and he needs to have a new one of those every time he crosses over into Europe. And this is one reason we're planning to shoot two films in one trip. And it's not free, of course, although using a pet passport, once it was issued, was. It has to be issued by a vet with the right qualifications and certificates, and once it's issued, it's only valid for the next 10 days to cross into Europe, and this means that travelling frequently or at short notice isn't easily possible anymore, at least not if you're a British dog. We're going to get an animal health certificate, and we've been through the first stage of the process already, and Bailey has had a new rabies vaccination. I'll let you know how we get on with all of that. Another thing that's become more complicated is that Britain's no longer part of a customs union with Europe, and that means that when I cross the border with all my camera kit, it could be taken that I'm exporting it and therefore need to pay duty and VAT on it. And then the same when I come back, even though I've owned most of it for years and I've already paid the duty and VAT on it when I first bought it, of course. There's a couple of ways around this, and one of them is to buy something called an ATA carnet, which makes all of that go away. I'm not really sure how, but apparently it does. But one of those costs £310 plus VAT, plus another £300 or so to set up a security bond for the value of the kit. It would last the whole year, but I'm not convinced that it's entirely worthwhile or necessary given that I'm not travelling with truckloads of broadcast equipment. It's just me and about £12,000 worth of cameras and lenses and microphones and a computer. So another way to do it is the duplicate list, which I'm preparing over there where you can't see it. And this is basically a list of all the equipment I'll be taking, every single item down to the last battery and cable, with their descriptions and serial numbers. And then you get that list stamped on your way out and then stamped again on the way back, and they can check if they want and verify what each item is and check the serial numbers. And in that way you can show that you're not trading it, it's your own kit that you've gone out with and you're bringing it all back. So that's the route that I'm going to take. I've never done it before, I've not been able to speak to anyone who has, but I'll let you know how it goes. In any event, I'm excited to be travelling again. It will be the first time I've been able to do this in Europe since 2019. And besides seeing lots of new places and new landscapes, I'll hopefully be climbing a few new hills and showing Bailey some new puddles and streams to get wet in. And with a little luck, Jamie Suzette, whom you might have noticed in a couple of my more recent videos, will be coming out to join me for a week or so, and we're hoping to time it so that she can travel with me overland in my camper van from the study area in the south of France to the one in Germany, and so see a little bit of the continent rather than just half a dozen fields in one of those countries that I would be working in. So there will be more Amanda Travels videos coming out of this trip, so watch this space.